Welcome everyone to Build 44 Part 2. Cable management is always something that I've been really strict about. It's something that has always really triggered my OCD. And so when designing Spectre, we put a lot of time into this. And as you can see, it's a huge part of the case being part of the integration. And something that's always really bothered me in every case that I've ever built into is that if you get to the end of your cable management and you spend hours doing it, in a lot of cases I will spend half a day, even a day, just doing cable management, just getting everything perfect, all of the strands aligned. And then you have to go back, tear everything apart just to add one cable. So in Spectre, I wanted to have full access to the PSU from all sides. And so you can even get to it from underneath, as you can see, the top, the bottom, the front, and both sides. So this means right at the end of the build, even in the most cramped build, this one has 4 8-pin PCIe, you can still add a cable. Let's take a look around the finished build, starting with the case mods. Spectre is designed to fit two 360mm radiators, 60mm thick. And with 60mm radiators installed, the fans installed on the inside of the case, of course, unlike what I've done here, the case looks very balanced. It's an easy fit. The fans or radiators come right up to this row of fasteners that runs around the outside here. But they're not covered up, there's still a little gap. And yeah, you can just really see this is what the case was designed for. For years we've been trying to cram 30mm thick radiators into mid-tower cases. There's not many, if any, mid-tower cases that actually fit two 60mm thick 360mm radiators. We've been doing all of these mods, even managing to cram in dual loops. So with all of the trouble that we'd had, it was very important to us with Spectre that it would fit two 60mm thick radiators with ease. But the first thing that we were asked, of course, as you would expect, is, will it fit 85mm thick radiators? And yes, it does, but only if you install the fans on the outside. And that's what a few people have been doing, including Peter Brands did it in one of his builds. And that's what the customer wanted on this build. The Airplex radical on the front is 73mm thick, and the Airplex at the top is 63mm thick. So we've installed the fans on the outside with some custom grills that we built on our CNC router, and then we folded them on our guillotine folder roller. So just a very basic mod, but it was also another opportunity to make the build look a little bit more unique and to add more of the copper accent. Now, the copper accent is a special effect paint. So first of all, of course, a primer. This is all DNA paints. That's really all we use at Singularity Computers. Then a black base coat. Then a clear coat, DNA Diamond Clear. Then DNA Virtual Chrome. After that, Key Clear, which is a special type of clear. Then the candies, the color. So I did a cola brown, one layer, the bottom layer, and then about 6 to 8 layers of candy orange, and then finally a clear coat to seal it and to get the nice glossy finish, and I used DNA Custom Clear. Now you can see that there is quite a few different colors of copper here. Like the copper on the alpha cool radiators is quite dark, the copper on the tube is very bright, very light, and then dark again on the EK Waterblock. So that's always going to be the case with copper. It's always kind of a few different colors, and then when it tarnishes it goes really, really dark, and maybe green and some other colors. Now the customer actually wanted to make the most of this, and yeah, the customer didn't want it clear coated or treated. He actually wanted this to happen, and over time it will start to match up with the copper special effect paint that I've done. It will darken. Right now it's freshly polished, and copper is actually quite fun, quite easy to polish because it's so soft. It's not like aluminium, which is incredibly difficult and then scratches really easily. So I had a lot of fun bending and polishing this tube and setting up this loop. It was good to do something different. Now the coolant I actually had to change, and I don't want to go into this too much. I'm just going to assume that I did something wrong, because I would like to do some more testing and try some different things and find out a little bit more. But I am usually quite strict about my brands with customer builds because I have to obviously guarantee these builds in every way. So I need to make sure that everything is going to work perfectly. So that is why if a customer says, I want Primochill View or some other coolant, I will just tell them that I've been using Mayhems for over a decade now and I've never had any problems. So that is what we prefer to use, but if you want to use something else, that's fine, we will. So I used Primochill View in this build, and within 2 days, it had completely separated. All of the particles were gone. Now, no doubt they built up in the radiators, in the water blocks. Maybe with these particular components, these aqua computer components, there might be a bit more restrictions, some dead spots. But yeah, the particles fell out of suspension. So I had to clean out the loop. I used Mayhem's Blitz Part 2. It worked extremely well, mobilizing all of the particles. And yeah, it was quite easy. Everything came out. And I probably put about 20 liters of fluid through the loop, flushing it out before every particle was gone. What I've put back in is Mayhem's X1 Purple, UV Purple actually, with a little bit of extra dye, a bit of red dye, and also Mayhem's Silver Aurora. So basically exactly the same look. And because there's so many particles in the loop, and they're suspended so well, they flow around so well, it's very opaque, almost like pastel. But if you take a look from around the back, you can see the color that I was going for a little bit better. It's really a perfect match with the Primochill candy purple fittings, which is what the customer wanted. So yeah, different fittings. It's not often that I use anything but bits power fittings, but I've used Primochill fittings here, the candy purple, and they're 1/2 inch for the copper. And actually these fittings work extremely well if you're going to be using different types of tube, like copper or stainless or brass or whatever you're going to use, because you don't have to have the ends of the tube like perfectly chamfered. They really allow a lot of flexibility with the tube. The main thing with Spectre's design, with all of our builds, there has never been a backside, a hidden side, a place that we cram all of the cable mess. And so that's really the core of Spectre's design, with the transparency of the manifold, being able to see right through the case and out the other side. You can even see the back of the motherboard. Everything needs to, look perfect, because you're going to be able to see everything. And so cable management was another huge aspect of Spectre's design. It's something that we've always put a lot of time into and a lot of effort into. So this case, the integration, the manifold, is not just about the loop, as you can see. It is also very much about the cables and cable management. So around the back here, you can see that all of the core component cables are routed in channels. And these channels are easily accessible from the back of the case. You just need to remove this back cover. There's 5 screws here, and then this entire back cover comes off and gives you access to the cable layer. And these cables can be clipped in minutes. So we have cable combs. You can just see them in the channels. And the cables clip tightly into these. They're designed for 4mm cables, so MDPCX sleeve on anything from 15 to 18 gauge wire. And yeah, you just clip them in one strand at a time. The EPS is designed for 2 8-pin. And then here you can see the PCIe is also designed for, it's designed for 4 8-pin. So 2 GPUs each with 2 8-pin. And then there's also plenty of room there for the SATA data for the 3 SSDs. You can see even with the very thick U.2 cables, they still fit in that channel without a problem.